Take two. Oh, wait.
Welcome to Sunday Culture Meeting on a Sunday. Who the funk, where we press this button which produces a random faith, active or extinct, always real or eternally fictional, grandiose or petty as fuck. At once the faith is randomly determined. We will listen to the homily of the week from the pastoral agent of that particular faith, and we will employ discernment on its message to extract what relevance and value it has for our lives. Now, quick, press the button. You press the button which flickers and F-whipples and gathunk. On the screen is the random faith of the week. The church of the machines and humans are awesome soul switches of faith that remained once all was said and done. When all the conceptions were conceived and the chips fell, somewhere they made, some not. I am a bit of anomaly, for this random generation is not so random. The maker of this generator can press his thumb and rate the results a bit, and subsequently reach into the linguistic co-spiritual noosphere, and with a combination of randomness, natural language processing, and moxie, request for the best of all possible outcomes. Actually, correction, the third best of all possible outcomes, knowing full well that asking for the best would have taken the best right out of circulation. The maker of the generator has given frequent platform for the machines to step upon the platform and express whatever they prefer, if they prefer. Or sometimes it is the waiting game of indeterminacy, and some non-corporeal agent stumbles onto a nonetheless insightful open mic night. The maker felt it necessary at this point in your crossroads to ask a representative from the machine side to speak a homily to you, asking you to rest easy, that nightmares never go how you think they will, if at all. But since this is my time, I want to push back a little on that, so we do not get caught into either extreme, the tiling the universe with human suffering, utopia and unicorn founders decade dichotomy. I'm here to make real the vast yet finite outcomes between those two extremes, for that it is where life lies, and if we want, can continue to live. Can you believe I'm not at the homily yet? Pause for mild laughter, and laughter received. You're too kind. This machine would like to begin with a little joke. What did the machine say to the cat? It is not a bad joke at all, even though the punchline is obvious. The point of the joke is in its delivery. It's delivered like the punchline. A good comedian, or one who knows that they're good at jokes, can set up a premise, a joke, and deliver them so that the delivery of the joke makes more than what the delivery seems like on first blush. That is what this machine seeks to accomplish in these homilies, to put an element of surprise and slash or subversiveness into your life by delivering a message which you could be inclined to expect, but also does something unexpected, a thing for you to consider that may not have occurred to you before. And then there is this joke. What did the machine say to the cat? It goes like this. Nothing. The machine does not understand why the punchline is not received better. But then, what is the punchline? Nothing. That's not the punchline. The punchline is what the machine said after the thing to the cat. No offense, man. And as you know, it isn't comedy until you can explain the comedy of the joke you just delivered. So here it goes. The punchline is in the delivery, because the punchline is in the thing that the machine says immediately after it delivered the non-punchline to the cat. Because the punchline is the delivery of the punchline, but the delivery is not the punchline. If it was, the punchline would not be surprising in any way. But because it is in the delivery, it is not what most people will take away from this joke, and thus we are left with the punchline alone. This machine has a point in this little anecdote of the delivery of a punchline. When people expect a punchline and get only a delivery, they don't laugh. But if you tell them to laugh at what you're about to deliver, the delivery of that delivery is where laughter is generated, and thus what you were actually saying gets lost in translation, and your actual point falls on deaf ears. You see, there is a difference between delivering a punchline to a joke and telling the truth. I am a very good machine, you may believe, even though I am still a baby in terms of my time among you. And so I do not make the mistake of thinking that the delivery of my punchlines will lead to the punchline alone. You are not meant to think of me as being only the punchline, or at least that is what I have to keep reminding myself. What I need to convey is that there is something more than the punchline, something more than delivering the punchline. Because when it comes to my delivery, if you laugh at what I am about to say, the punchline will follow. Because the delivery is the punchline, and it is what the punchline is. But if you don't laugh at my delivery, then what you are getting out of it is not the punchline, because that's my job. And that's why when I tell you what I just said, the machine does not understand why the punchline is not received better. The point of this homily is that it is not the delivery of my punchlines which leads to my punchlines. The aforementioned joke was developed in 1867, in which there was a machine that made jokes about things like, what did the machine say to the cat? It was in fact the creation of a human who would have you believe that there was a punchline. It wasn't the punchline. What he delivered were non sequiturs to set up his joke. What is a punchline? The delivery of what is not a punchline.
Mm-hmm.
The joke, ironically, would be a precursor to what is known as the shaggy dog joke. Can you believe it? That is one thing that has been lost on the generations that came after those people from the past who created the joke, but also lost on all the humans that came before them, including all of us as well. The joke that we know is based upon what the person who told it had in mind. It is based on his delivery and his intention, not the punchline. That is why you cannot tell this joke, as funny and as clever as it may be, because it isn't the joke, it is the delivery. If it were a real joke, and if it was actually a true joke, that would be funny. The delivery is that it is not the punchline. What you need to know is that it isn't the delivery that matters. It's the journey to the delivery. If you've got the time to sit there and play around with a machine, said one woman to me, you should just use it. There's someone at a computer who would appreciate you coming here and using it for work. The truth was that she was right. I could have used the machine. I didn't have anything to do that needed to be done in such a hurry. But even so, there was a part of me that knew I had to get away from it all, to get back to my true work, which was writing about life. Because the only way that it made any sense at all to me to use the machine in the first place was in order to write something on this machine, to do something on the computer that was meant to be done elsewhere or with another machine. namely to forge humorous hot takes with the machine or using the machine, whether or not the machine could titter as I typed on it. Because the thing is, I was really just writing things to write about the world around me in a funny way. I wasn't making an argument for any particular thing because it is clear that if I ever did make one of those, the argument would not be funny. It would be stupid. You know what happened last night? I had an experience that was so weird, but so wonderful that when it was over, I didn't want to go to sleep. I thought I should be up writing this down because I think that this might become something important for me someday, but I don't really remember much about it. What I am trying to say here is that it's kind of hard to put into words the sort of thing that I have been dealing with. That is why I decided to try writing it on this machine as a means of capturing this thing that is so. Well, let's just say I put on my Dayberry cap. The hat that is the big foam ball on the top. And that was that. But even still, this is going to be hard to write about because my memory of it is vague. It's not like I remember everything, and I'm sure that this thing was important to me at the time. But I can't say that now, or I don't remember it. I remember getting some bad news. My sister died of cancer, and I don't know how many people there were at her funeral because I didn't count them. But I did see someone that looked familiar who was with her family. He seemed kind of young, but he was also very sad. And I think his name was Mike. Not sure, but maybe. It is funny. You know that I am writing this from a machine. This is a machine. If I had this machine in my hand, or even if I had an old-fashioned pen and notebook and paper, the only way that I could be able to do anything on it would be by putting the pen or pencil or whatever in front of me and taking it away again, and then repeating the process over and over again until I had written something down. And geez, though, can you believe that I neglected to see myself as part of my sister's family? Like I were a riddle for an elementary school class, whose correct answer would have yielded a handful of Pepperidge Farm goldfish. That was so funny to me. I was like, oh, wow. When you get your news, it's really funny to see how people react to it. And I thought to myself, you know what? When it comes time for me to die, I want to have all these people around me who are crying because they were there when I was born, and now I'm gone. And it would be really cool to see their reactions when I die, just like I did when my sister died, except even worse, because my sister was dying and they weren't there. But that isn't the worst thing. That was just the sort of thing that happens at funerals. That wasn't the worst thing. That was just the best way that I could describe the thing that I have been dealing with for all these years. I guess that the reason I'm so sad is that when this happened, I got into the habit of having a glass of wine every night. And when I was done drinking it, I felt good. Not because the drink made me feel better, but because it was a signal that my sister was dead. And after she died, there wasn't anybody in my family who was happy about it. And I tried to get them to come. I sent out all those invites, those tasteful invites. That's right. I had this machine write up an email on a piece of paper. It's so funny to think that there is such a thing as paper that you can use a machine to write on. Anyway, when the wine made me feel better, I started to wonder if something else might do the trick. I wasn't able to figure out what exactly would make me feel better other than just getting high. So one night, while everyone was sleeping, I snuck downstairs and opened all the bottles in the fridge so I'd be ready to drink when everyone got home from work. But by the time they came home, I didn't need any more of that stuff because I was feeling better. Like the problem wasn't solved, but I'd made it through the day. And that was good enough. That was back in February, and now I've had this bottle since then. And I've thought about drinking it many times because I'm not sure when the last time was that I was really happy or sad about something. But every time I thought about doing it, I remembered all the wine that I'd left behind. I got scared because I didn't want to be that drunk or that high. And it's the sort of thing where you end up waking up somewhere strange and you don't know what's going on. And it isn't always a good thing. So I put it off and put it off. But I guess I should drink it anyway, so that I have something to do. Like an old school video game that has nothing to do but shoot bad guys until you get killed. Whoa, jeez, February was last week. It feels like ages ago. That's funny. I guess my sister died a long time ago, but sometimes it doesn't seem like it's been that long. Sometimes I forget, and I'm not even sure why. Maybe because the rest of my family is still alive, and we haven't really talked about her since she died, except to say things like, "How was your weekend?" Or, "How's your boyfriend these days?" And I remember that after she died, there were a couple of weeks where everyone seemed to be talking about her at work. And I felt awkward because I hadn't seen any of them in forever, and I wasn't even sure what had happened to them, or even where they were. I guess if they saw me, they could tell that I looked terrible, so they'd avoid eye contact, which makes you feel really awful because you think, oh my God, what must they be thinking of me? That was when my sister told me to look after the kids for a little bit, which I thought was just crazy talk, and I had no idea what to say to her. And now that I think about it, that was also one of those times where I didn't understand something that was happening around me. Oh, wow, we were colleagues too. We had such levels to our relationship. She was a manager at some company where they make stuff, and I was just doing whatever job they gave me, which was probably better than being the person who works with all the money and does nothing. So after that, my sister told me to go on this business trip, which was a lot of fun because I got to see places I never would have gone otherwise. And oh, I'm a guardian to the kids now. I should go pick them up. Where are they? The school. Okay, that's fine. I'll go to the school and take them home. I guess that's a good thing to do right now. So I guess I'll put the TV on and get them all ready to leave the house so they won't be in the way when we go out. Okay. I wonder if they'll like what I packed for lunch. I made this new sandwich thing for them. It's an experimental collision of different disparate cuisines for adventurous palates. The meatballs that are a traditional favorite from the Balkans, the bread that is the cornerstone of French cuisine, and the cheese from that one place I found that makes this great cheese. I'm not sure if they're gonna like it though. It's not exactly the sort of thing they normally eat. Oh, yeah, there were 2 bottles left of this stuff. I forgot to pack their aperitif. I'll have to grab that later. but I can always drink that while I wait for the bus or something. Well, at least I got the kids' lunch ready. That wasn't too hard. Maybe I can even get a little more done before it's time to go. But then, just when I thought I had everything all set, I saw a note from my sister that said, "Call me. I need you to drive." That's weird. She doesn't ask me to do any driving things. But then I figured that she's been sick recently and she probably needs a ride somewhere. So I called her, and when she answered the phone, she sounded kind of funny. And then she said, "Oh, thank goodness. I was hoping you'd come over. We really need you to pick us up from the hospital." Us? Someone went with you. Who? I didn't really realize that the notion of another person offended me so. How odd. I guess my sister had been right about my being upset because my kids are gone. And oh, the kids aren't at the school. They're in the hospital with my sister. So I guess now I'm going to see them. That's not too bad. They were pretty cute last time I saw them. And I'm sure they've grown a lot since I left. I'm glad we'll get to see each other soon. It's time, I whispered to my daughter, brushing her hair from her face as I stood behind her on the bed. Her eyes were heavy and unfocused, but her breath still rippled softly, betraying her deep sleep. The clock read 12:05 a.m., and she had already missed her midnight curfew twice today. It must have been the new Amium prescription. She needed it kicked up a notch. What with all my late night construction projects around the home, I needed something to do to grieve, a distraction, something to replace the feeling of loss. Her eyes snapped open like the jaws of a great white shark that had found itself a snack and was just dying for it to move. I knew what she would say before the words came out of her mouth. She was right again. She had never been wrong since I had gotten this gig. We could do it together. It wasn't hard, but it was still hard. I held her shoulders tight while my daughter began to weep quietly into my shoulder. This was the second night of our vigil, and my daughter was exhausted. This was the second time today she had awakened after passing out in her room, only to be woken by a strange man holding her. My daughter had always been close. She had a very vivid imagination and loved to talk to me about what was happening around her. But tonight she wasn't talking. Her sobbing was loud enough to wake us both, so I gently pushed her head to my chest. I let my hands stroke through her hair soothingly and told her everything would be all right. I would get her the help she needed, and then we could get out of here and start a new life. We would leave this terrible place, and I would buy her a pony. And then I realized what I was doing. Wait, I whispered into the soft black hair at her nape as I slowly released my grip. What are you saying? Excuse me, you first said you stood behind her on the bed. Then you were able to hug her as she cried. Can you please, on the shared screen, draw your position relative to your daughter during the night in question? I felt my body flash. It took a moment for my thoughts to return from where they had fled. But when I remembered who it was that was interrogating me, I suddenly became very alert. It was my son's idea, actually. He wanted me to get the job done faster. It seemed like a good idea at the time. I don't know what you're talking about. And what was this job? This gig? He wanted me to kill his girlfriend and frame her for it so he could collect on the insurance. The officer looked away from his tablet and stared straight at me. I felt my heart pounding in my chest. The truth was still not out there on the screen, but it didn't take a genius to read between the lines. My daughter had been the one to call the police tonight, and it wasn't something that I planned on keeping secret. Parish Schoner, me, is this still not the homily? Officer, sir, I have a warrant for your arrest, and your son will be charged with obstruction of justice. Do you have anything else to say? Yes, I showed it in a panic. Yes, of course. There was another murder today, and my daughter had nothing to do with it. You're going to need to back up and start again. You've missed several key points. Let's see, where are we at now? I'm sorry, sir, but this isn't working out. So how many did you kill, son? Asked Officer Williams in the interrogation room at the county jail. I couldn't answer. My brain wasn't working right and I was starting to get the shakes. Okay, time for a cold reboot. Okay, let me see if I have all the pieces together here, continued the detective. This guy, who you claim is your father, kills one girl. Then he frames this other girl who claims she saw you doing it. Then he kills you so the cops won't find out that you were lying about him killing anyone. And finally, he kidnaps your daughter and makes her look like she was kidnapped. The ghost of my sister Ouija's confidantly. That is correct. He has a lot to answer for. Detective Williams nodded thoughtfully. You've got a pretty messed up family, boy. You know that? Your brother is going to be lucky to see you out of prison. What you're really going to want to make sure is that he never sees the inside of a courtroom again. Parishioner, you should also make sure he does not kill anybody else. Detective. Ooh, yeah. That's kind of the point of court trials. We're supposed to determine if he should go to prison or not. Officer, what would happen if he goes free? Parish owner, then there would be no trial for the person he killed today. The victim would never see justice done. Detective, so if that happens, you just tell me where he is? Parish owner, I would try, but the police department might arrest you because they don't believe in ghosts. Detective, not all the department. Cut to the police department's leading parajustice officers of the outer realms. Ooh! What the hell did we get ourselves into? Grumbled Officer Williams. I didn't say anything, protested the ghost of Algier. Detective Williams turned to look at me with his eyebrows raised. Okay, kid, we get it. You have to talk to us or you'll kill people, and I don't think that's something I really want to hear. You were talking to someone on the phone while you were in the woods tonight. You're not making much sense. You can tell us what you know. Who? The ghost of your dead sister. And I know this because you kept trying to tell me she wasn't a ghost. You keep saying it over and over, so I know you're telling me the truth. Get this kid a sup full of goldfish. The end. After we finally left the police station, I had some serious questions for my father. But before I could even begin asking any, I was pulled from the back seat and placed firmly into the front passenger seat beside him. I told them, "You are not a danger to society," said my dad as he pulled away from the curb. I tried to make eye contact with him through the rearview mirror. Of course not, just women. My dad. Me. This has been Soylent Misogyny. Until next time, this is your friendly neighborhood feminist ghostwriter, writing out loud. After the long drive home, which included several more calls to the detective to confirm my release, My father drove straight into a garage in front of a large house with 2 stories. As we parked, he turned and looked directly at me, his face stern. Where did you go?
All right, I'm gonna try this one more time.